it's all of it. It's about probably my fear in the beginning was that my messaging wasn't on point and that I wasn't providing value. Obviously, sometimes when you're cold calling, you feel like you're being annoying or you're trying to take away someone's valuable time. But there's a reason you're cold calling them, and there's a reason that you're reaching out to them. You're selling something that's going to provide value to their role. There's a reason that you chose that persona to reach out to. So it's about believing in your messaging and really honing in on the value that you can provide. It takes time to do that. It takes a lot of conversations to be able to get to a point where you feel confident in having strategic conversations where you're providing a lot of value. But once you get there, it becomes a lot more natural to have a cold call, and those intros become a lot more natural.
What's going on, everybody? It's Morgan J. Ingram here, host of the SDR Chronicles, bringing you motivational advice, tips, and tactics for your sales development career, your sales career, and also for your entrepreneurial career, as I believe that sales development is the vocal point and mantra point for your career and also for your life, because we use sales development every single day. And today I have another guest from Vidyard. There's a lot of, I guess, Vidyardians is what I'm going to call it. Vidyardians on the SDR Chronicles. Bailey here, SDR, doing her thing over there. And I'm already excited about this topic already because I got the Keep Dialing shirt on. So you guys already know what I'm going to talk about again, which is how to remain persistent with cold calls. So we talked about cold call introduction. We talked about how do you get started with cold calls. There's a lot of different things, but I think this is important because we're going to talk about why cold calls help you remain persistent and how to get on top of that. So without any further ado, Bailey, talk a little bit more about yourself and why you're excited about the topic today.
Awesome. So well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk a little bit about this because the reason that I've seen success in the SDR role is using cold calling and being super persistent about it, picking up the phone time after time. And that's really helped me to save myself from some rough months and be able to hit quota consistently.
For sure. So let's hop into it because there's obviously some people who are already turned off because they hate cold calling. But why do you like cold calling?
So at the end of the day, I like cold calling because it helps me to get to a yes or a no. Every time you pick up the phone, you're either going to connect with someone, they're going to say, yes, I'd like to chat further, or no, now's not a good time, now's not the right time. It's about pushing someone to one of those avenues. So here at Vidyard, we like to say, get to a yes, no, or a maybe. And if it's a maybe, if so, when? So we're pushing towards those three avenues. And at the end of the day, when you hang up that phone, you should have a yes, a meeting is scheduled, a no, this isn't a priority right now, or a scheduled follow-up for the future if it's a maybe.
So you're always trying to get the answer out of the phone call every single time.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is big. I'm like super even more fired up because I'm glad you said that, because I tell people all the time, and you've already reaffirmed exactly what I'm going to say here, is that every single time you go on a phone call, you have to treat it as a very valuable opportunity. Again, you're not going to schedule something every single time you get on a phone call. That's not the point of it. It's just to understand what are the next steps, because if you don't ask that additional challenging question, if you just let them off the hook, then you don't know what's going on and now you're lost.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's super important to be able to push someone in one of those three avenues. You can't use that time that you connect and that valuable connect and lose that opportunity to be able to book a meeting or be able to qualify someone out and hear the reasoning for why it's not a good time right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. You want to make sure that you understand, okay, if this person's not ready right now, you can reach out to them in 4 or 5 months instead of getting like not interested and you have no idea why. Because then you don't know when to reach out and you're going to seem more annoying than being professionally persistent.
Exactly. It's all about providing value. And if you're not going to be able to provide that value and you come across as more annoying than being able to give something on your end, then it's not worth anyone's time.
For sure. And so this question is going to be intriguing. I'm going to see how you answer this because you're from Vidyard. So obviously for people that are listening in, that's a video solution. So how did you get from, the video solution to like, okay, I want to go make phone calls? Like, how did that transition happen for you?
Yeah, so I think they're both incredibly valuable. I think the video is a great way to grab someone's attention and definitely warms them up in the future. So one thing that I see is if I send a video early on in my cadence, people are more than willing to have a conversation with me when I'm cold calling them later in the cadence. But at the end of the day, the conversation is when I'm most effective because I'm able to connect with someone and get to a yes, no, maybe very quickly.
Yeah.
Email is great because you can capture someone's attention and really engage them using video content. But I still need to be able to have those conversations because at the end of the day, I need to be able to talk about the value that Vidyard's providing and be able to schedule a meeting with an account executive. And that's my end goal.
Yeah, for sure. So, and that makes sense. That is the end goal. You want to get the next steps. You want to set the appointment. You're trying to make sure that you show enough value in time for that call, being persistent and showing, hey, look, this is the next step. And this is why you should take time with us. So you're not wasting their time. So the additional question up to that is, were you afraid of cold calling at the beginning and why?
I was afraid of calling in general, even if it was warm in the beginning.
Even your friends?
Oh yeah, I had a tough time calling the doctor in the beginning, which I found that honestly practicing those skills, we do when you sign on with Vidyard, you do a lot of mock calls in the beginning, and that really helped me to build up my confidence, just talking to people who already worked here and have that experience under their belt. And obviously there's going to be times when you mess up when you start cold calling. There's going to be times when you get hung up on, which obviously doesn't feel very good. But at the end of the day, that's the worst they're going to do. They're going to say, please don't call me again or hang up on you. And I mean, it's about picking up the phone one time after that and having a good conversation. You never know when that next conversation's coming, when you're going to have some success and where you're going to be powerful on the phone. And even though it's not always nice to be hung up on, it's about doing it one more time to be able to push that limit and see success.
So what was it for you? Was it the fear of what someone's going to say, the fear of getting hung up, the fear of rejection? Like, what was that initial fear for you?
I think it's all of it. It's about probably my fear in the beginning was that my messaging wasn't on point and that I wasn't providing value. Obviously, sometimes when you're cold calling, you feel like you're being annoying or you're trying to take away someone's valuable time. But there's a reason you're cold calling them, and there's a reason that you're reaching out to them. You're selling something that's going to provide value to their role. There's a reason that you chose that persona to reach out to. So it's about believing in your messaging and really honing in on the value that you can provide. It takes time to do that. It takes a lot of conversations to be able to get to a point where you feel confident in having strategic conversations where you're providing a lot of value. But once you get there, it becomes a lot more natural to have a cold call, and those intros become a lot more natural as well.
Yeah, and that goes into understanding your persona, who you're reaching out to, the reason for your call. I was talking to a VP sales the other day, and I asked him, I was like, hey, so do you get a lot of cold calls? He's like, not really. So I was like, first of all, that's an advantage point. Remaining persistent is really key when it comes to cold calls because a lot of people don't do it in the first place. And then I asked him, okay, out of those phone calls that you answer, do you normally take meetings with people who sound unconfident? He's like, no, even if it sounds like something I need, I actually normally don't if they don't sound confident. I want them to sound confident so that I'm confident in spending time with them. So you make a great point, Bailey, because you have to understand that like when you get on the phone with someone and you don't know them, you have to sound confident. If someone calls me or you and they sound hesitant, I'm automatically hesitant. First of all, I don't even know you. So, and you sound sketch, like I'm already sketched out and I'm like, get me off the phone call ASAP. So you have to be confident in your message. And I feel like that's the best way to get over fear of phone calls and to remain persistent is to continuously pick up the phone every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time that you pick up the phone is another shot that you have to see success, and you have to view it that way going in. If you're confident going in, you have a much better rate of seeing success at the end of the call.
Yeah. And so for you picking up the phone and remaining persistent, was that just, hey, I'm just going to get over the block in my head? Or was there a special technique that you had to like, did you put like a sticky note on your desk? Like keep dialing? Like what'd you do?
Yeah, I definitely have one of those sticky notes. I have a lot of it to thank from my manager, who's super, he focuses a lot on dialing and making connections. So we're very focused on that within my team specifically. But honestly, there was 1 month I had where I was not seeing success at all, and I knew I needed to change something. I brought my dials up by 50% that month, and it really saved me. So
awesome.
Just seeing those statistics and recognizing that I needed to change something in myself and in my outreach was when I realized how valuable that cold calling is and how important it is in your outreach, email's great, but at the end of the day, cold calling is where you're going to see the most success and where you're going to be able to actually connect and provide value.
Cool. And so you're making these calls, you're remaining persistent, you're staying on top of people, you're now confident. When did you feel that you start hitting your stride with cold calls? Because I feel like everyone has that stride where they get confident in it. And why did you believe it helped you to remain persistent?
Yeah, so I would say, I don't know whether there's like a specific moment where I recognized that I was really starting to hit my stride.
Wednesday at 11 a.m. I hit my
Exactly.
stride in your journal.
I knew it. But it was probably after I've had a number of conversations where I started to feel confident in what I was selling and where I was providing value, where I could really hone in on the messaging. Obviously, video helped me to do that as well, because it's me practicing my messaging all the time, every time when I'm making a video. But something that really helped me to do that as well was leaving voicemails and practicing the messaging there as well. So voicemails are difficult because not everyone listens to their voicemail, but it definitely provides you an opportunity to hone in on that messaging like I talked about.
Yeah.
That way too, when someone picks up the phone, I have my intro down. I know exactly what I'm going to say to them. I know which value drivers I'm going to use for their specific persona. It helps me be a lot more confident when they do pick up the phone.
Definitely. And that goes into definitely a lot of different things, understanding what you're going to say, being confident in that nature. And when you're remaining persistent, does that mean, so people may be confused here, does that mean you're making like 3 dials a day to the same person? Or is it, hey, you have that cadenced out to make sure that you're at least getting those touch points?
Yeah, so it's maybe a little bit of both. I don't think that you should be calling someone 3 times a day every day. Your connection rate definitely goes way down when you do that. But I mean, it can be as simple as sending an email and following up with a phone call right as soon as you open it, because you see that they're at their desk and you know that the chances of them opening or answering the phone are a lot higher. The cadence should definitely be built out where there's phone steps pretty often. I like to do either once a day or once every other day in giving someone a call. And those times should be varied as well. So I think that the stranger the time that you call at, the more likely they are to pick up the phone. So I like to call either early in the morning, towards the end of the day between 4 and 5 o'clock. I have a lot of success, and then right after work as well. You're likely to catch someone on their cell phone when they're driving home. They have a little bit more time to talk to you, and they're willing to invest that time because they're still thinking about the things that are keeping them up at night, or that are bothering them throughout the workday that you might have the solution for.
Yeah. And that's another key thing that you just mentioned, interrupting people's workday. Like, what I've realized is that every single time I call someone, I'm completely disrupting their life and disrupting their flow. And you think about it for yourself, because like people are like, oh, but like that's the same thing. Like someone calls me now, like it's completely disrupting what I'm doing right now. So yeah. It's like, whoa, you got to make sure you provide value and you're not wasting my time. And I feel like you have to be to the point, which powerful introduction, powerful pitch, powerful close to what's the next step. Because I think a lot of people, and you may have realized at the beginning I did, is I would say things like, hey, this is what we do. And I would just sit there and be like, like, it's like,
now what?
Like, now what? Like, I'm not asking a leading indicator question. I'm not guiding them to the end of the process. I'm just like, oh, hey, here it is. And then like, I'm waiting for them to maybe say, oh, I'm interested or not. Like, you have to lead them there. And you made a really good point there. So there's obviously you had some ups and downs, but you definitely have seen some success stories with your phone calls. Where have you seen success with your cold calls? And like, what are some stories that you can tell us that you really benefited from?
Yeah, so probably where I've seen the most success is when I come in with an intro where I'm delivering something that I'm confident in, where I feel like I coming off in a friendly manner. So one way that I typically approach my intro in a really human way. I think that for me, I delivering a script every time I'm never going to be able to pull that off. And it's all about figuring out your sales style and what works for you. But I try to come into that conversation and be super friendly. And sometimes I catch people on the phone that are not friendly at all.
Of course.
And you have to tailor a little bit to them to be able to really connect with them and have those powerful conversations. But for me, coming in and saying, hey, how are you, is the way that I typically relate to someone. I get to hear a little bit about their day, giving them an honest answer, saying, you know what, I'm really happy to connect with you. I haven't had a whole lot of success today in connecting with people, but I'm glad to be talking to you now. Sometimes that gets a laugh out of them, especially when you're looking at sales leaders.
Yeah.
So having frank and honest conversations and really being able to understand how you should be approaching that conversation based on the way that someone picks up the phone is probably where I've seen the most success. And honestly, some of those days where you've made 60 dials, you haven't connected with anyone, you never know when the next connect is going to come through. So it's really about just picking up the phone one more time towards the end of the day is sometimes those times when feel like you're hitting your head against the wall. But some of the most powerful conversations I've had have happened after 5 o'clock.
That's actually one of my favorite times to call, actually.
Yeah, me too.
And before 9, before 8. So I like calling people I just don't like calling people during the day.
No, exactly. They're caught up in their work day. They're not looking to talk on the phone to an SDR. So
no, they're definitely not. Has anyone ever been genuinely excited? I guess not fired up and excited, but has anyone genuinely been that was a great conversation, give you a compliment?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one conversation that sticks out in my head. I was talking to a sales leader, and sometimes talking to sales leaders is a little bit easier than talking to other personas because they understand the grind. They've probably done this
agree
role.
with you. I've talked to sales leaders and marketing leaders, and sales leaders are just willing to, if you sound well on the phone, they're willing to give you the time.
Yeah, they'll throw you a bone, right?
Yeah.
So yes, there was one specific conversation where he heard me out. I delivered my pitch, and he said, "I don't think that this is probably going to work for us right now. Here's the reasons X, Y, and Z, but I wanted to thank you for your call. I think you did a great job. Did this role for 2 years. I understand how hard it is. But you handled yourself really well." And sometimes those conversations are good to have too, even though it doesn't help you to achieve your quota or to be able to hit your number. It's still encouraging, helps you to pick up the phone one more time.
Of course. And I guess so you've done video, obviously you're doing phone, email, all different types of channels. Have you seen phone to be your most successful channel as you remain persistent with these prospects?
Yes, definitely. So I would say probably towards the beginning of my cadence, video has helped me to really grab people's attention, to book those meetings right off the bat. But for those people who aren't engaging with me, aren't opening up my emails, the phone is where I'm most powerful for sure. Towards the end of the cadence, you're more likely to catch someone on the phone than to grab their attention with an email. So I definitely am heavy on the phone towards the end of my cadence, and rely more on that than I do on email for sure.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. I feel like when I get someone on the phone, I know where I stand with them, and I feel like the phone, at least for everyone, if you see it this way, that's where you have the most control. I can't really control an email because I don't know how people are feeling that day, or they respond, and they may not respond back to me when they do respond. Video, I can control the message, but I can't control the response. I don't know how they felt during that video. If I could see how they reacted in the video, that'd be incredible, but we're just not there yet. In social, I can only listen, and I can only post and see how people react. But I feel like phone is where I have the most control because I can reaction, tone, what's going on, and I can always change the conversation. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, phone allows you to pivot throughout your outreach, and not all the other channels allow you to do that.
For sure. And you mentioned after work, we talked about a little bit, but I want to get further in context in that. So when you call someone after work, because a lot of people have the perception that they get annoyed, but do you actually get more pickups and better conversations after work? And why do you believe that?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have a higher rate of connect after work than I do during the day. The conversations, it's all about how you approach them. Obviously, people aren't looking for you to call them after 9 p.m. when they're with their family. But if you're catching them at 5:30, 6 o'clock, they're still thinking about their workday. They're still in it. And you're really, that's when you need to be providing value most, because you are catching them outside of the workday. But they're still absorbed in the problems that they had during the day. So you're more likely to be able to have the solution that they need for those problems that are going to keep them preoccupied when they should be with their family at the end of the night.
Of course. That makes sense. Don't call someone at 9 o'clock at night. That's obviously not what you want to do. The whole premise of calling someone before 8, before 9, or even during lunch, if you want to. I've tried that before. It's an off and on thing. Or after work, which I really like, is because people are zoned out.
Exactly.
They're not as locked in, and they're more so exhausted. And what I mean by that is that they're not going to try to be very pointing with you with all these objections. They're
Exactly.
going to either say I'm interested or not, which is exactly what I want. I'm not trying to have a soliloquy on the phone. I'm just trying to figure out, do you want a meeting or not? That's really it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, someone's guard is down a little bit more, so they're probably more willing to have the conversation with you, and they're definitely going to be more frank about whether you have the solution that they need or not.
For sure. And so, question for you, this is because you're being persistent on the phone, so that means you ask questions. When someone, I got 3 things for you. How do you handle this? When someone says, these are like the top 3 things I always hear. When someone says they're not interested, they're heading into a meeting, or we got it covered, what are your 3 responses to those?
So we're not interested. I always ask why. I think that's obviously the most easy question to ask. And if they don't have a good answer to that, then you can come up with a rebuttal to that. So one thing that we hear is video is not going to work for us. We don't think that our reps are going to be able to adopt it. Well, we have a great CSM team here at Vidyard that will help with adoption and can gamify adoption so that your reps are more likely to pick it up. The second one that you said was sorry?
Was I'm heading into a meeting, or I'm in a meeting.
Yeah. So one kind of sneaky trick that we use on my team specifically is obviously you can ask if there's a better time that you can reach them at, but most of the time they'll say, give me a call back this afternoon.
Right.
I often say, typically when I hear that as an SDR, someone's just trying to get me off the phone.
Yeah.
It's not a priority right now. I don't want to waste your time, but if it is a priority right now, can we get something in the calendar for later today or tomorrow to be able to actually talk about the value that we can provide here at Vidyard? Yeah. And then the last one, again, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. The last one was like, we're all set.
Yeah. So obviously we ask a little bit about in that situation, we ask a little bit about the platform that they are using for video and what they're currently doing with video. So if I hear, we're all set for video for the year, I'd like to probe a little bit further. I think that you get 2 to 3 chances to probe on a phone call. And
of course.
Wisely. So I always like to ask, so what are you using then for video, or what metrics are you tracking with video right now? So in our specific case, we often hear that there's YouTube, and we say, that's great. YouTube's a great way to be able to drive viewers to your content, but wouldn't it be great if you could tell that I had just watched your homepage video and you could score me as a lead instead? So for that one, it's really about understanding the value that you can provide over other systems, having a good understanding of what your competitors provide, and being able to come up with a rebuttal there on the spot, which is tough. But if you're confident in your solution and you understand your competitors well, then you're typically able to do that.
Of course. And what do you enjoy most about cold calling?
What I enjoy most about cold calling, which kind of is the theme, I think, for this conversation, is that you get to an answer the most quickly of any other style of outreach that you're going to use. You get to a yes, no, maybe, because someone you have someone on the phone and you can ask those leading questions to be able to you make use of the attention that you have with them right now.
Awesome. Well, Bailey, thank you so much for diving into cold calling, how it's helped you remain persistent, and how you're getting in front of your prospects on a daily basis. The last question to every single person that comes on the show is, what is your number 1 piece of advice for SDRs as they enter into their new role?
I would say that my number 1 piece of advice is that it is a tough role. You have to be able to be persistent, but the skills that you learn in SDR are going to be able to help you throughout your entire career moving forward, no matter which role you move into. The people who see most success in their roles moving forward are the ones who have developed persistence earlier on in their career.
Awesome. Well, Bailey, thank you so much for coming on once again. As I always say, guys, keep dialing, and I'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you.